Hello, and welcome back to the LFA Purpose Podcast, where we offer fresh insights to help you rediscover the clarity and courage that already live within you. I'm your host, Father Leo Armbrust, and in each episode,
we feature guests who share something in common in their own way. They are healers within their profession. They have allowed their passions to guide their path.
welcome to episode 2 of our conversation with Dr. Spencer Barron. If you joined us for the first episode, you are aware that Dr. Barron was a pioneer in bringing chiropractic medicine into the football world, serving as the Team Chiropractic Physician for the Miami Dolphins for 19 seasons. He was also worked to heal elite athletes at Nova Southeastern University, the Miami Marlins, Florida Panthers, and Major League Baseball teams, including the New York Mets, San Francisco Giants, and the Colorado Rockies. In our first episode, we talked about connections and boundaries. In this episode, we'd like to expand our conversation in a few areas that resonate deeply with the LFA community. Well, we're glad to have you back, Spencer, for our second podcast with this extremely talented individual, not just as a chiropractic person, but also as a philosopher, an artist, and most of all, a very special friend of mine. Spencer, we talked the last time we were together just about your philosophy, how you got started in chiropractic medicine, and some of the influences in your life, and some of the things you've discovered in your years, almost 40, over 40 now, of practicing chiropractic medication and medicine. And so I'm curious, can you talk about where you're located in Broward County so people can understand what you're doing there, the practice that you have, how you're treating people there, what you're going out and you're giving talks in high schools and other organizations and places outside the office?
Well, thanks. It's great to be back.
Thank you.
I am in Weston, and it was an interesting transition. I had been in my private practice in North Miami for 23 years, and when managed care took over, because I had a very insurance-based practice back when it was okay, and it started changing, and the challenges where the insurance company, you didn't send a bill in and they paid right away. They would wait months, and then they would negotiate, and I go, this isn't healthcare. I'm working on some serious issues here, and I'm spending a lot of time with no. So my intern became a doctor and ended up buying the practice, and it was perfect. So I decided, I've been with the Miami Dolphins and the Marlins and Panthers and other visiting teams that would come in, and some college teams that would come into town. I'm just going to. I have 2 new boys at the time. This was
Hunter and Heath.
Hunter and Heath, yes, and that was back in 2008. And I decided I'll never forget driving along State Road 441 actually, 441, and there's all these car dealerships and auto mechanics, and I'm going, man, how do they all work with each other or against each other or what? Oh, this one specializes in trucks. This one, it specializes in economy cars. This dealership has this. So it was a garden variety of vehicles, and I go, but they're all educated. All the mechanics are educated at a certain level, and then they specialize. I go, wait a minute, that's health. That's what healthcare does now.
Correct.
It's not just the family doctor that does everything. They all specialize. You have an injury to your finger, you go to a
hand specialist. Yes.
Right. So I go, and at that moment, I drive past an exotic car dealer, and I go, ooh, that's me. I work with high performance athletes, and what I learn from them, I educate what we call NARPs, the non-athletic regular people. That's what the students call. So
Got to remember that.
I found myself taking that knowledge base, and every time I would walk into a room, a patient would have a condition, I would try to help them. I go, look, what I do here works. It's what you do out there that undoes everything. So I found myself giving them ideas that the best healthcare is delivered to who? The pro athlete. Why? Because that team is spending millions of dollars.
Performance-based.
Yes. And they need to have them back in action. So I saw tissue and bones that are healing faster than the average person. I go, it
Why?
just requires attention.
Yeah.
And a certain type of attention. So I brought that perspective to the NARP, the non-athletic regular person, or, the college or high school athlete, whatever it is.
Weekend warriors.
Yeah, especially the weekend warriors. And so that was what brought the book Secrets of the Game into play, because I said, you know what, I'm repeating the same thing over and over again. Why don't I just create a book and hand it to them?
And I think that's very important. The people that are listening and viewing need to know you've written a book called Secret of the Game. Why don't you explore that a little bit, the philosophy and your discoveries that are in that content?
Thanks. I felt that, I always wanted to write a book, but believe it or not, I often said, I don't know anything else. I only know healthcare. And all of a sudden I realized, man, I got a ton of information that I learned from Kevin O'Neill. Kevin O'Neill was what was that show? MacGyver. MacGyver. Kevin would make stuff out of nothing to help an athlete.
He would.
He was
ingenious like that.
So I took those ideas, learned from just even new athletic trainers, anything, and brought that together in a book, Secrets of the Game, what we can learn from pro athletes that we can deliver to the average person. And in that process, I sold my practice. I decided to, when I told you I saw the exotic car dealer, I said, that's me. That's where I'm going to specialize.
That's your lane.
So I decided to put full time in raising my kid. Well, part time raising my kids and part time with just pro athletes. So Miami Dolphins, Marlins, all the visiting teams that would come into town. So I sold my practice and was able to spend high quality time raising.
What's the name of your facility in Weston?
It's called Neurosport Elite. Neurosport Elite, because I felt that the nervous system is really what we have a command over. Your brain and spinal cord control everything. What prevents you from full healing is that ability to the brain and spinal cord to communicate with all the extremities, your big toe, for example.
There's the connections again, yes.
Yes. So it was always important that we weren't just backcrackers. We had an element. Now there's those out there that just, pop and go. We call them pop and go, 7-Eleven type, But what we focus on is the nervous system and making sure every component is. I had a woman, a NARP, a non-athletic regular person. She was in her 50s. She came in with mid-back pain, for example, and she would say, I have diabetes. I go, oh, okay, good. And I write that down. And she goes, but I know you can help me. I go, yeah, with your mid-back pain? Yeah, of course. No, with my diabetes. I go, okay, wait a minute. That's not what I do. But I will tell you, if I can help with the problem in the mid-back, that happens to be the same areas that the nerves go to the organs of the liver, the kidneys, so you never know, the pancreas and things like that. This is blow-away material here. So I'm treating this woman for her mid-back pain. A couple weeks into it, she disappears. I go, where's Mrs. So-and-so? And my staff would call, no answer. Call, no answer. I go, uh-oh. 2-3 weeks later, she comes back into the office. I go, oh my gosh, we were so worried about you. Where were you? She goes, well, I had been on insulin for all that time the doctor put me on. When you fixed my back, I was now considered that I was taking too much insulin, so I had a reaction and it put me in the hospital. I'm off insulin now.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Talk about bodily connections, both mind, body, soul.
Yeah. She believed more in what I can do for her than I believed myself.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
What that taught you.
Oh, incredible. Now I'm not going to go promote I can help diabetes.
No. But by the same token, it shows you the connection.
Yes. So we see patients that come in with what brings them to the office, which is, what is the master motivator? Pain and suffering.
Yeah. As I say, when the pain of remaining the same becomes greater than the fear of change, then we will change. People have to get to a level of pain and suffering where they can no longer tolerate it. They can't stand it before some people will cry out for any kind of help or assistance. Most people today are looking for a quick fix. They want some medication, some remedy. It could be drugs, it could be alcohol, something that's self-destructive that only makes the problem worse. As I always say, it's not the alcohol and the drugs that are the problem. They're a temporary form of solution to an even deeper issue. It could be physical, it could be mental, emotional, it could be spiritual. We're all looking for some way to recover from what the pain and suffering is that we're feeling. Your insight and what you've discovered has helped, I think, people realize that it's not just about physical pain, it's something else. Elaborate on that, if you would.
Beautiful, beautiful segue. Leo, I can't thank you enough for asking such provocative questions that people don't realize that if they listen or watch this show, they will learn about themselves, and that's what's important. I will give you a perfect example of when I left Miami Dolphins and the Marlins and all that, I decided to open up a practice that was in a facility that had like-minded folks. Exercise, a gym. There was in my office in Weston now. There's a section that is dedicated to just rehab and recovery, not from your perspective, but from a physical perspective, right? So the patients do come in. A lot of them come in for peak performance purposes. There's no pain, but they come in for they want to get an edge on life, whether it's picking up their child, whether it's being able to finish cooking without low back pain, whatever that passion is, that's what's important. I've always said there's two motivators, away from pain or towards pleasure. If you don't find out what drives that patient, you're missing.
That is a terrific comment.
Yeah, you're missing a vital element. Now, I am no psychologist. I said to you earlier that you want to have big ears and listen to what the patient's saying. Perfect example, female comes in, low back pain. It was mechanical low back pain. It was not complicated. There was no need to do an MRI. Low back pain, I'm working on her. This is in my early years, my first maybe 10 years in practice. And I'm thinking to myself, geez, what? I know I can help this. I don't want to send her out for an MRI or medication or anything, but what is it? And she's already been through all the medication route. All of a sudden, 2 weeks in, I give 2 weeks to see a change, and there was no change. 2 weeks of doing what I'm typically doing. All of a sudden, I realized she had said on a few occasions, I can't have sex, right, with my husband? Now, I'm giving you the answer. It was so subtle all along that it dawned on me after listening, she's looking for a reason. She does not like her husband. She's looking for a reason, and low back pain is justifiable. I said to her, I said to her in the most kind and non-demeaning way, I said, I can help you, but what might work best is if you talk to a marriage counselor about that. So I went at that the moment she said something about no sex.
That's key. And I think you said this earlier in the conversation. You respect the boundaries of other people. You didn't suggest something simply because it was your first initial reaction or response. You maintained listening in such a way that they were becoming more open and more vulnerable about what else could be bothering them, but was physically demonstrating itself. It was an issue much deeper than skin tissue. And so if you didn't recognize that, if it wasn't in your skill set to be that listening and that attentive and that empathetic, you would have continued to just, diagnose a symptom, not the problem. And that separates good healers and great physicians from mediocre ones. Takes years of practice to develop that. And that's why I commend you for the way you're teaching so many people to understand what they're doing. It's artistry. It's understanding your skill set. It's realizing that you may know something, but you don't know everything.
Yes.
And that pain and that suffering is what we deal with every day. I think that's why podcasts are becoming so popular today. People are looking for remedies. They're looking for solutions to daily issues and problems because maybe they've lost faith in the traditional ones. Do you have any thoughts and further comments on just the idea of what you're doing from those perspectives?
Absolutely. People think of us as, we just work on the physical.
Correct.
But what we were always taught in chiropractic college and even to this day is if we approach the body physically, nutritionally, and most importantly, mentally, that combined is what healing is about. In your world, spiritual translates to the emotional, mental aspect. And that's why you're so effective in provoking inspiration and motivation in people. There have been times I've talked to you and I've always described you as someone that man, you just know how to get into someone's mindset. Because you've made me tear up. It's oftentimes, but to me, that's healing. That's emotional healing. The moment you know that my boys are the most important thing on the planet Earth, and being a dad is a privilege. And to see, I get choked up when I talk about it. I can't even look at you.
Father's Day is coming up.
Yeah, I know.
I know.
So it's not unusual when my kids were growing up for me to ask them, how am I doing as a dad?
Well, that takes a lot of vulnerability to even request that kind of question.
Yeah.
Yes.
It does.
Because you don't know what you're going to hear.
Yeah.
You may not want to hear what you're going to hear.
No. You know, it was interesting because at Miami Dolphins, they offered a opportunity to, it was like a dad's experience, but there was a lot of foster fathers there and stepdads that were trying to create a connection. I said to Kevin, I go, I got a great relationship with my kids. What do I need to go to that? I don't need to go to that. I went to it. I said, you know what? The coolest thing in the world happened. The exercises that we did were all, you know, whether it be physical and trust stuff, but there was one in particular that my two boys had to write down what they loved about their dad. And it was great.
It was a very special time.
Whew, I did not expect to go there, but it was such a great experience. So your ability to get honest feedback from the people around you, it requires you to be happy and healthy about yourself and what you know. Tony Robbins, or Anthony Robbins, the motivational speaker, he popularized a communication skill called neuro-linguistic programming. Well, I learned that because I couldn't figure out why I had such good connections with people all my life, and what that took, because I needed labels on what it was that made me connect with people. So I had, because my best friend at the time in high school, he would do anything for anybody, but people go, you're best friends with that guy? And I go, yeah, he's a great guy. What I realized is he was very incongruent in his communication. And so when I took this course in neuro-linguistic programming, I found out certain things of, you know, what was important to be whole, you know, to constant and never-ending improvement. CANI, C-A-N-I, constant, never-ending improvement. And that was what was important to me, my patients, my kids, to me, myself, you know, and the friends that I have for so many, many, many years, still to this day. So, you know, that's just a skill that comes natural. It's not a manipulation of how do I get that person to like me. It was just understanding connection. And you know as well as I do, deep connection is what we as human beings need.
I've used this quote often. It's from a gentleman by the name of Bill Bullard, B-U-L-L-A-R-D. He says that opinion is the lowest form of knowledge because it requires no understanding and no accountability. Empathy is the highest form of knowledge because it requires one to suspend one's own ego and live in another's world. Yes. The people that I find to be most effective in what you're commenting on display a level of empathy where they not only understand someone's pain, they're willing to feel it, to embrace it. And chiropractic medicine has always looked upon something as manipulative. Let me work on your body. Let me twist this. Let me move this. But in essence, that's not what you're doing. You're not trying to manipulate anyone. You're trying to help the body recover itself. All you're doing is finding it to be a way to guide it, a way to help it, assist it, not in a way that's dominating, but a way that's mutual, that's complementary. And I think that art form as a healer is one of the most critical things you can do in your profession. As a father, with your responsibility to your two sons, is not telling them what to do, but help them find their own path and say, allow me to walk beside you through thick or thin.
My parents got divorced when I was 19. And many years later, I didn't have a good relationship with my father after that. All through chiropractic college, we never spoke. And we became friendly again, 3 years after I graduated. And I had a life coach at the time, and she shared with me one concept over the 7 years that I was communicating with her, and that was, write your dad a love letter. What? Because write your dad a love letter. I go, write my dad. What? It forced me to recognize so many attributes that my dad had that I compared my relationship with other people, and it was completely different. My dad didn't throw the baseball around with me or the football or sit and watch sports or anything. My dad took me to the gym. People think you train just to get big. No, or healthy. No, I train because it is it's an oasis for me to connect with my dad, even long after he's gone. And if there's, I've not been one, listen, some of my best friends did drugs. They're dead now. They're in jail or what have you. And they were the ones that were running boats with, pot and cocaine and things like that. I don't know why it was such an easy money thing. I never did it, but I realized my euphoria, my nirvana, my experience with a level of happiness was when I was in the gym and training, because that was my connection with my dad. So my dad, 3 pages of written letter to my dad while he was still alive was the biggest gift to him he could have ever had.
I would wager he had the same reaction you did when you read the letters from Hunter and Heath. I would wager that was the same experience.
That's why I love you so much, because you connect things that I would have never thought that is true.
And what you're bringing out in me is something I have only been dealing with now in the last 5-6 years of my life. And that is, you said something earlier about my capacity to help get something out of people that they might have been reluctant or hesitant to share. And when Jimmy Johnson first took me to the combines and I would ask questions, I realized that the questions that they were generally asking me to present to these potential draft choices weren't getting to the heart of the issue. So I came up with my own questions. And when you do that, you can, and especially the way you say it and how you say it and what it is, can bring out just an eruption of emotion and honesty that I'm sure that after they told me some of the things they told me, I can't believe I said that. If you have that power to get someone to open up to you, it can be magical, because people today are carrying so much. And recently I've been doing a lot of work with alcoholics and drug addicts. And I often say their line, when is enough enough? And so when people come to you, how do you deal with them when they say, enough is enough, I can't take this anymore? How do you respond to that?
Healing is truly about finding out what motivates them.
The pleasure
or the pain.
Or the pain.
Yes.
What draws them to, I got to pleasure, or I got to get rid of this pain?
Yeah. So in a very interesting way, sometimes I'll ask them, I go, okay, if you don't understand what I'm talking about, and if you needed to lose weight, are you the one who's going to put a picture of a fat person on your refrigerator, or the picture of someone in a bikini with a svelte body? Which one is it? That tells me
everything.
Everything.
Oh my gosh, Spencer, that is fantastic.
Oh. And even if you don't do it, if you can think about that, where is my motivation? So
is it negative or positive?
Yeah. So that gives me the answer on how to drive people to healing. And no different than, listen, the pain from being a drug addict or alcohol, that's where you're counseling people. I'm not a psychologist. It's just important for me to help them get through the pain. Some people come in and they get injured immediately, or they come in acute pain. They went to pick up a piece of paper off the floor and they blew their back out. I've had people who have had an injury for years. That's become their identity.
Ooh.
And that is important. Again, I'm not a psychologist. My perspective on understanding what gets them to do some stretching before you get out of bed. You want to be able to play tennis again, right? Or you want to be able to pick up your child. Or what is 5 years from now going to look like if you still have this low back pain? So what I just shared with you is pain or pleasure. The pleasure of lifting your child, your infant grandson, granddaughter, whatever it is, or without pain, or your ability. 1 year from now, if you still have this pain, what are you going to look like? What are you going to feel like? And that's the other part. I need to find out, are they a visual person? So I'll ask them, what is your life going to look like? If they're an auditory person, I go, what are your bones going to sound like crackling when you're trying to pick up a piece of paper off the floor 5 years from now? What if you're a kinesthetic, someone who's, who talks about, my feelings are that. I go, what is your back going to feel like 5 years from now? So it's simple. My motivation is to get you to act on something. Because again, what I do works. It's what you do out there. And so for me to figure out that your shoulder hurts because you fall asleep like this every night, well, what are you going to do? Well, do I need to have your significant other seatbelt your arm down, or are you going to remember to do that on your own? And they go, I can't do that. I go, okay, shoulder problem, I can help to some degree, but you're going to continue aggravating it.
I think the most important word that you said in that beautiful comment was, after a while, people are comfortable with their identity of being sick or ill or troubled or problematic. They almost are proud of that identity, and it becomes their crutch for an excuse. Or, no, I can't go out, I'm not feeling well, or I can't do this, or I can't do that. That becomes, in a way, their final terminus of that behavior in their life, where they can't play golf anymore, or they can't play tennis. And now all of a sudden, they're no longer, as Morgan Freeman would say in Shawshank Redemption, they're no longer busy living. They start getting busy dying.
Yes.
And it's not a conscious decision where they start thinking, well, I'm going to start dying. What they do is they gradually stop living. And I think for people in your particular profession, you've expanded the entire notion of what chiropractic medicine is, because it's just not merely the adjustments that go on in your life, or being able to twist and turn a person's body and contort it in such a way that all of a sudden, that neck pain.
Thank you.
I wonder, really, knowing you and the many times I've listened to you, how many others you've inspired to follow a career just like you. That was the purpose that you have found, is not only what you do, but helping leading others to discover within themselves. Just like this look, find, and align. Look for something within yourself, find it, and align your life for that purpose.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I felt that healing in many facets was so important to people in many ways. Some of these things are so deeply embedded and ingrained in their psyche that, again, it takes time, but if you can open up the inside and let them look at what's going on, it's revelation to them. And
they discover it themselves, rather than you say, well, let me tell you what your problem is. I can see this immediately.
Yes.
You help them discover it. That is so much a key ingredient of self-image. Look what I found.
Yeah.
You helped me find it.
Yeah. It's funny because my interns tell me, that place down the block, man, they're seeing hundreds of people, I won't mention any locations, but, conglomerates that are bought by, entrepreneurs and things like that. But, I go, those are the McDonald's diets, and they're just stepping up.
Oh, what a great metaphor that is.
We are the 5-star restaurant that help Neurosport Elite.
Yeah.
If you really want to get better, that's what we do. And that's where we're at with our office and our staff.
I want to really thank you for so many that you've encouraged to look beyond the simple understanding of what your profession is, or how people would approach it. Dr. Spencer Barron, thank you, buddy. You're the best.
So good. Thank you. I appreciate you.
God bless you, buddy.
Thank you.